Yes, hello everyone. Good afternoon to all of you in Madrid. It's very early here in New Jersey. It's a little overcast, it's raining,
You're able to
but
see
it's
the
okay.
screen, right?
Yes. Can you hear me well?
Yes, great.
Okay, sorry about that. So hello everyone again. Good afternoon to everyone in Madrid. It's early in the morning here in New Jersey. Like I said, a little bit of overcast, the rain is coming down, but I'm up and I'm excited to speak to you today. My name is Rosaline Gordon. I'm the CEO and founder of the Gordon Group Financial Services. We're located in Islip, New Jersey, and I'm going to speak to you today about the power of planning. So when I prepared for this event, I took the liberty to ask a few people what words or thoughts came to mind when they heard the words plan or planning. Some of the words were schedule, details, organizing, mapping, assessing. I also heard words like fear. I heard words of anxiety and restriction. And the more people I asked, it started to get to a point where the latter words became more prominent. When I was younger, I had a habit of describing certain behaviors that I had. So if I didn't do something when I was supposed to do, I would call myself lazy. And I guess that came from having Caribbean parents. If you weren't busy or doing something all the time, that's what you get called, you know? So I called myself lazy, and someone heard me one day referring to myself, and they looked at me. They know how I am. They know how driven I am. And they were like, "You're not lazy, you know?" So they pulled a dictionary and we looked up the word lazy. And when I read it, I realized that there was no way that my face, my picture, would be next to that word in the dictionary. So what I decided to do with the word plan is I decided to pull down the dictionary. And when I did, I decided to look up the words, and here's what I found. A detailed proposal, intention or decision about what one was going to do, to decide on or arrange in advance. And my favorite, a project or definite purpose. A project or definite purpose. One of the things that I realized about planning is that planning helps to keep you focused. You can use planning to zone in on smaller tasks that eventually lead you to ultimate goals. Those ultimate and meaningful goals cultivate our purpose. And once purpose is cultivated, we can change the lives of people that need us. Wow, planning is powerful. Circling back on the people that who contributed to my little exercise, Lorraine from Brooklyn, New York, shout out to Brooklyn, my hometown. She wrote, "I love taking notes and writing things out, planning. But when I think of moving forward, I develop a case of anxiety or fear of failing." Then it hit me. It is not the planning that stirs up feelings of anxiety, fear, or restrictions. It's basically the process of doing something new, right? It's the process of doing something different. When you're planning in an effort to align with your purpose, it's not always the easiest things to do. A lot of times it takes way longer than you expect. It takes more time than you want to dedicate to it. You know, and sometimes you get judged. Sometimes people talk about you. Planning to align with your purpose comes with a cost. And I'm not just talking about sacrifice. Sometimes planning to align with your purpose comes with a price tag, baby, that it'll make you blink and think twice about what you're trying to plan. So what do? We consider our strengths, but at the same time, we let our weaknesses be the focus. We assess situations, and because it doesn't look like someone else's, because it doesn't look like Sarah's, or it doesn't look like Nicole's, we play the blame game. We convince ourselves, right, that it's too late because we've missed an opportunity, and then we end up doing nothing at all. So at the Gordon Group, all we do is plan, right? One of the things I love about my business is the spirit of being proactive and the spirit of support. While timing is essential in this game, it doesn't automatically mean that we tap out of things. Don't get me wrong, there is a cost to waiting, but it doesn't always mean that something cannot be done, right? So I'm the queen of Plan B. I think that I'm like that because I lived a life where disappointment was my cousin. So I've heard renowned speakers over and over and over say, oh, there's no need for a Plan B, or Plan B sucks. And I just found that it's a little unrealistic, you know? Having a Plan B doesn't mean that you do not have faith in your Plan A. It does not mean that if you plan for Plan B, your Plan A will not work. It does not cause a distraction. Plan B simply gives you an opportunity to begin again. And if the last 3 years haven't taught us anything, all entrepreneurs, the collective.
Do you want me to read to the next slide?
Everyone probably here have learned and practiced the word pivot. In my opinion, pivot is a synonym for a Plan B. A long time ago, I heard a story when I was younger. I heard a story about a man. He was sick and he could not walk. And he wanted to go to this doctor and visit this unique doctor. The doctor was a specialist and he was in town, but he wasn't there for so long. He told his friends of his desire to go and see the doctor. And so the man and his friends' support made a plan to go. When they got to the doctor for a consultation and a remedy, they could not fathom the number of people that were there for the same thing, a solution. So he was going to turn around, but his friends convinced him that let's see how we can do this. So his friends came up with another plan. So they decided to climb up to the roof and they lowered him down so that he could see the doctor. And a result of their determination to help their friend, he received his healing and they were blessed because they didn't have to carry him back home. So what am I trying to say and convey from all of this? In life, we are going to have crowds and we're going to have ceilings. There are going to be things that come up in our life that deviate us from our plans. But it's essential no matter how skilled we are, it's essential no matter how resourceful we are, or how unprepared we think we are, that we put ourselves in proximity to people who and professionals who want to see us succeed, want to help us succeed, so that we can walk in our purpose and show up powerfully for the people that need us. One of the things that I realized with my business is that it's not easy for some people to focus on their purpose, right? Especially if their finances are not completely in order. And this could be the result of poor cash flow management. It could be because they're working and doing everything and they don't realize where all their money is going, or they might have some tax issues, tax liabilities or whatnot. So some of the things we offer to help people worry less about their finances and focus more on their purpose are some of the following. So if we could back up the slide a little bit to probably the second slide, that would be very helpful. Right.
This
So
one?
one of the first things, yes, that we offer is our client accounting services. We offer outsourced accounting and CFO services to clients who have businesses who can no longer serve in that purpose or that capacity. So we help them stay compliant and provide them with quarterly financials that assist with optimal cash flow performance and a better opportunity to make informed decisions. Next slide. So in that process, sometimes comes with that tax preparation. But when you just do tax prep, all you really do is you inherit a cost, right? But the next thing that we offer is our tax advisory services. And our tax advisory services include the tax prep and our tax planning. And when you do tax planning, it's not only a cost to you, it's actually a return, an investment with a return on investment. So what we do is that we use a holistic approach and we take a complete look at a client's financial position, and then we work with them using core key strategies and complex strategies and regulatory requirements to help them save money, lower their tax liability, prepare for retirement, develop better cash flow performance, and maximize lifetime value. Next slide. So when we do tax planning, usually when people come to their accountant, they come after the year is over, after the fact, right? But with tax planning, we work with you during the course of the year so that you can have the best tax savings possible. So when I was talking earlier about that proactive spirit, this is basically what I meant, okay? Next slide, please. So some of the things that we cover when we do tax planning is we look at deductions, and I would be remiss if I didn't add tax credits here as well as deductions, especially for foreign companies or European companies. A lot of time there's some reciprocity there, and you can also receive a tax credit for work that you've done abroad here also. So that's one of the beauties about our revenue system here. So some of the things that we also look at is our legal entity structure. We look at retirement. We look at insurance. We look at tax loopholes. We had a law that came into effect in 2017 called the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. And we look at some of the benefits that are available for clients through that act. We also look at niche specific strategies. One thing that's very popular here in the United States, as well as probably abroad too, and you can also receive some type of credit depending on your situation, is real estate. So we'll look at a tax strategy for real estate professionals. And what's so wonderful about that is you don't necessarily have to have a real estate license to be able to take advantage of that strategy. We also look at the Biden tax policy when we're considering tax planning. So earlier I talked a little bit about the legal entity structure, and it's crazy to know that there are so many businesses in the United States that aren't properly structured. And this is a key core strategy in tax planning. We look to see how you can benefit more by the type of entity that you have set up. Next slide, please. So just to tell you a little bit about how I got started, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, when we get started, sometimes it's a little bit of trauma that catapults us forward. So I went to a tax accountant one day, and he prepared my taxes, and it turned out that this was after a divorce, and the last thing that I needed was another tax bill. And he was telling me that I owe, there was nothing he can do for me. I decided that I was not going to file that day, and I went home. Luckily for me, I had some experience in this area, very new to it, but I still had some experience. And I was able to see that there was another opportunity for me to take a different withholding, and I did. So I went back to him, and he was very adamant about what I said, and he wanted proof, which was okay. We were supposed to do our due diligence, but and then he, adjusted my tax return, and I no longer owed the tax liability. But my question is this: why didn't he do the due diligence before? So I realized that it's possible that it could not be an isolated case. And I decided that I was, whatever I could do with the purpose that I have, that I was going to make sure that people knew more about their finances and so forth, and not have to go through experiences like that, right? So I've been in the accounting and tax space for almost 30 years. I've worked with different types of accountants all over, and I watch clients actually overpay year after year in taxes. And the thing about it, like I said, a lot of people come to us once the year is over and tax season begins. A lot of accountants, they just help with preparation. They're too busy with the tax season, and so they don't really have the time to really do a deep dive and look into what a client could take to possibly help them with some savings, right? And some of them really, they just do things in and out. They're more reactive than proactive. But I just thought, next slide, please. If we can save tens and thousands of dollars every year going forward, why not try to do that? Why not try to help people be great? So I first learned this with one of my clients, Sam. Next slide, please. Sam, next slide, she was 42. And in the first year working with her, next slide, please, we were able to save her about $15,000 on taxes in the first year, and every year going forward. She was a few years in on her business, but we were able to do that because she came to us and we were able to do a deep dive into her life and her savings, right? Next slide, please. And we did this without her increasing her income, without her reducing her expenses, without growing her business, and without reducing her lifestyle, just doing tax planning. So what she did, if we could turn to the next slide, of course, I could not really share her info here. We have restrictions on that. But basically, what Sam did was take advantage of compound interest. So I like to refer to compound interest as the godmother of finance. And that $15,000 she saved year after year after year, she was able to put it away in retirement. And Sam, basically a few years in, is on her way to a really interesting retirement portfolio. Next slide, please. So there was another one of my clients, Sean. Sean, I was very attached to Sean because he was such a young guy. And he was working, next slide, and he still had a job when he came to us. So he figured out that he didn't want a 9 to 5 anymore, just like plenty of us. And he wanted to go ahead and start his own business. So literally, at the time he came to us, remember, he had not started, he wasn't in business for long. And he came to us with no sales at all in the business. Next slide. But we projected that he was going to quit. And in his first year, you can turn to the next slide, he could do $200,000 in sales his first year. So what did we do with Sean? If we turn to the next slide, we helped him properly structure the business to minimize taxes. We took into consideration various forms of asset protection. We reviewed options for legal entity incorporation, and we made a plan for saving, investing, and growing the wealth that he planned to create. And that was all before he quit his job. Next slide. You can go to the next slide. So before he even quit his job, we completed the plan, right? And a year later, unfortunately, Sean didn't hit his goal. We can go to the next slide, please. And we can move on.
Is this right slide?
The next slide, please. So we didn't hit, he didn't hit the revenue and the first year that he anticipated. It was actually, instead of $200,000, he actually hit $153,000 in sales. But if we can go to the next 2 slides, but it was a great lesson. The great lesson that we learned is that the best time to do tax planning is before you have the income. It's before, even if you're working in your business, we take a look and we see, we do a little forecast and we see where you're going to go, right? Next slide. So the best time to do tax planning is before you have the income already made. Next slide. Had we not done the tax plan, it would have resulted in an overpayment of taxes of $12,000, right, in the first year, and probably even more in future years, because he planned to increase revenue. So the next slide I just wanted to share this with you. This is a post from Facebook. And this is a friend of mine. We went to high school together, and she found out what I do. She's a teacher. And I don't know if many of you know about the teaching system in New York. They work so diligently, work very hard, but the pay is not equivalent. But her and her husband, they decided to come to us and do some tax planning. And for the first time in 25 years, they were able to enjoy an exotic luxury vacation, all because they took time to plan. So if you can read the caption, I can read it to you. Happy 25th anniversary to me and my love. We are making it. And there's a lot behind that statement that I can't share about we are making it, including financial distress, right? But we've been through lots of life and always together. Thanks to Rosaline Gordon for the beautiful gift. And they're referring to planning. We had a day off of roading, beach, massages, and dinner. We are having a great time, right? And I just use this as an example to say how planning your life can work. Planning, just doing a little bit of planning can change your life for the better. 25 years, and that's the first time that they were able to go out and really have a luxury vacation for themselves. And I'm not sure if you're familiar, there used to be a commercial when I was growing up about this man who had a hair loss company. And he'd say, I'm not only the president, I'm also a client. And he'd show, his hair or whatnot. And it's the same for me. The same principles that I use and work with my clients, I use in my personal life. Things are not always going to be perfect, right? But you can do your best with some planning, and you can basically have a life that you've only dreamed of, And I'm able to do the same, take my family on vacations, show my children another side of the world that they haven't seen. And it just makes me happy, and it makes them happy. And it also catapults them forward to do new and exciting new things, right? Next slide. So in the planning, if all I did was save you 3 to 5 times more in taxes in the current year than what you invest, save you what you invest this year, but you keep that savings every year, help you protect your assets for you and your family, set aside taxes quarterly so you never get a surprise tax bill, or help you properly document tax positions so you're not worried, then I fulfill my purpose, right? So before I go, I wanted to leave you with this, that planning, and you can go to the next slide. Planning offers peace of mind. Planning offers fulfillment. Planning offers you an opportunity to move in your purpose, to help others, and to help yourself. And lastly, a plan is only a thought until you execute. I'm Rosaline Gordon. Talk to you soon. Be well.
Thank you so much. Any questions? It's really nice talk, unique talk, I can say. Rather than nice, it's unique, and the topic is quite must be provocated, must be like enter to, each and every speaker's mind, because nowadays nobody is giving such kind of tax related talks. I must appreciate that.
Well, thank you for that. It's really, really important.
Yes, it's really important.
Yeah, we make all of this money as entrepreneurs. We work really hard.
Exactly.
And it's really important to be able to keep some of it, keep most of it, right?
Yes.
And that's one of the ways that you can do that. You can keep most of it by doing the proper planning. And what happens when you do that, you have an opportunity to keep more money in your business. And then what do? You'll be able to create jobs. Right now I have one full-time person working with me, one part-time person, and I have 2 independent contractors. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't practice some of these things, just like some of you,
because everybody, like, they will do the business, but they don't know how to handle the taxes and processing, etc.
Right.
It's nice one. Yeah.
Thank you.